I was thinking about that story of the priest that was driving along and got pulled over by the police officer. And the police officer is looking at him and saying, not sure if he's had a little bit too much to drink. He says, "What is that you're drinking there?" He says, "Oh, it's just water." And the police says, "Give it over." And he smells it. "This smells like wine." "Glory be to God, he's done it again." Thank you all for coming out on this lovely night. I'm here till Tuesday. Try the fish. So this beautiful scripture, we hear about how Jesus changes water into wine, but not just any wine, the best wine. So what's happening? And I like to look at the role of Mary in all of this. In the midst of all this, the bridegroom has absolutely no idea there's anything going wrong. Even the head steward doesn't notice this, but Mary does. Mary notices when there's a problem. Mary sees what's going on, and she brings the need to Jesus. And when she brings the need to Jesus, all she says is very simply, "They have no wine." Note, she doesn't say, "Would you go out and buy some?" Nor does she say, "Please do a miracle." She doesn't even say, "Well, you're the one that brought all these disciples with you. You're the reason they ran out anyways." She just presents the problem before Jesus and then trusts. They have no wine. And Jesus says, "Woman, how does your concern affect me?" Now, just as an aside, this is not like us today if we were to say to our mother or spouse, "Woman," whereby you'll soon get slapped. This is a different culture, different language, different time. This is not a derogatory thing. He's not dissing his mother here. It's a respectful thing. But he says, "My hour has not yet come." And Mary could have said, if it's not time, then it's not time. But she just trusted. She didn't argue. She had presented the need before the Lord. And then she trusted. And in her last words recorded in Scripture, and what a beautiful benediction they are, she says, "Do whatever he tells you." And this is Mary's whole role. This is what Mary always is doing. She's always pointing to Jesus and saying, "Do whatever he tells you." Like John the Baptist, she's saying, "I must increase, he must decrease." I must decrease, he must increase. Did I say that wrong? Sorry. I must decrease, he must increase. He must be more, I must be less. Look to him, do what he tells you. Always pointing to Jesus. And so she says this to the servers, and Jesus says something rather odd. "Go fill the jars with water." Now, why would they be filling them with water? They would have absolutely no idea. Now, when I went to Cana in Galilee, we actually got to see these jars, which from that time period were about this tall, about this big around, and they were made of these huge stones. So you're not going to be moving that. So they had to take smaller jars, walk to the well, because of course they didn't just have a hose that they could hook up and have it go into those things. They had to walk to the well, which wasn't in the front yard. It probably was a mile or so away. So they would have had to walk all the way to the town hall, dip their buckets in, carry them back. Splash. That's not full yet. There's 20 or 30 gallons that can be filled in this. So they have to go back and forth and back and forth. We're talking about a lot of manual labor, a lot of elbow grease, and a lot of sweat probably. And they're saying, "Why are we doing this?" Maybe, I would guess that they know they're out of wine, but they're saying, "Why are we filling this with water? Are there going to be a lot more people coming and needing their purification rituals? What is going on here?" They don't know. And then Jesus says this most odd thing. "Draw some out now and take it to the head waiter." For what purpose exactly? They don't really know, I'm sure. Now, I don't know if at that moment it turned to wine, if as they were carrying it over to the head waiter it turned to wine, or just as he drank it, We don't know that part of the miracle. We don't know if the servers noticed. We don't know exactly what happened. The only thing we know is suddenly the head steward tastes it and realizes, this is much better wine than they had earlier. And he calls the bridegroom over and says, it's kind of silly. Most people serve the good wine when people actually are in their right minds and can taste it. They've had a little bit too much to drink now, and now you're serving the better wine. Now that's backwards. Of course, the groom doesn't have a clue as to what's going on, which is usually about right for most grooms. But as we look at this, we see not only does Jesus provide the choice wine, he provides a superabundance of it. This is a huge amount. Now, Jewish wedding feasts go on for a week. There was probably enough wine at this point to go on for a month. There was superabundance of wine now. Jesus didn't just take care of it, he took care of it in spades. What's going on another level? Throughout the Old Testament, whenever there's a mention of wine, it's always in reference to joy. They talk about the joy of the kingdom, the joy of the Lord, the joy of marriage, the joy of these things. They had run out of their joy. And Jesus provided an even better joy, and in superabundance, from what little they had. So when we look at all these things, when we go to God, are we like Mary? We present our needs with trust. Or do we try to tell the God of the universe how he's supposed to work, how he's supposed to act, what he's supposed to do? Do we even blame him for the way our lives are? Or do we just say, here's the problem, they have no wine? And do we persevere and trust, even dare I say, if things don't seem to be changing in the immediate moment? And then we can't just sit back and say, okay, God, work that miracle. God's not a genie. He uses our work, as little as it is, to change it into something greater. And we have to do whatever he tells us. So if he's saying, like the prophet Elijah said to Naaman the leper, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times. Why should I have to do that? I thought he'd just wave over his hand over the leprosy and it'd be gone. He had to go and do a work. And then God healed him because he did it in faith, trusting that God would do it. God tells us, you can't just sit back on your laurels. You have to do something. Do whatever he tells you. But then, God does something so unexpected, so incredible. He takes our little offering of water and transforms it into the wine of the kingdom. When we look at the bridegroom here, he didn't know there was a problem. He didn't know there was an issue. He didn't come up with the solution. The only thing he did was he invited Jesus and Mary into his wedding. Do we invite them into our marriage, into our family, into our work, into our lives, in every aspect? If we do, you can be sure Mary will be looking out for all those things we don't even know are going wrong. All those areas where we can lose our joy. And if we invite them in and do whatever he tells us, you can be sure they will give us joy in superabundance.